Well, that's right, Brenda. Gas prices have left a lot of us running on fumes over the last several months, but now that they're finally under $2 a gallon, I'm here at Imperial Crown Jewelers where that brutal robbery took place last year. Now, you may remember originally Thomas Quest III said he wasn't the man that walked into this jewelry store and shot the owner in the leg, but today he told the judge a very different story. Taken nearly 120 days to build, but like you said, in less than 2 hours, the new Costco here in Pocatello will be open to the public. Now, we found these two people. These are the most determined and eager people to get inside the new Costco. We're going to introduce you to them right now. Good morning. What's your name?
Good morning. My name's Nico Beebe.
So tell us, it's cold outside, it's freezing, you got gloves and a beanie on. What do you want to get so bad? Even though there's enough snow to open, Pebble Creek says they'd still like to see a lot more. When Life Flight arrived, they had to land here because of the rugged terrain. But Jim and Audrey, a lot of what goes on inside this prison is much like anywhere else, but the difference is the focus on making inmates better for when they walk out. After breaking the glass and unlocking the door, the burglars came right in and got away with about $500. This Life Flight helicopter has been serving the community since 1983 and has flown thousands of flights within Idaho, Wyoming, and Utah, responding to emergencies in all types of weather and terrain. It's only been open for a few hours, but already local exercise fanatics are here breaking a sweat at the new Gold's Gym in Pocatello. A lot of people come here to Jensen's Grove to walk their dogs, launch their boats, or enjoy the skate park like these kids behind me. But the Blackfoot Police Department hopes that their new surveillance system will help keep this place from getting destroyed. On any given day, Jensen's Grove and Blackfoot has its fair share of visitors.
This is a popular place for the city. This is our focal point.
The Grove's popularity isn't always a good thing. It's also attracted people who are up to no good, who over the last year have left the Blackfoot Police Department responding to more graffiti and vandalism calls at the Grove than they have in the last 8 years.
We just had a group of kids that just felt it didn't matter. They could destroy it if they chose to do so, and we weren't going to allow that to happen.
Chief Moore says there was so much vandalism happening here that he couldn't afford to have an officer patrolling it all the time. So in September, he installed 4 surveillance cameras near the restrooms, skate park, and picnic area.
We record the problem areas 24/7, and now when I get some vandalism, I can play that tape back to see if I can identify the individual who did it.
But Chief Moore says these aren't regular surveillance cameras. As you can see, officers can pull up the footage from their computers and even from their patrol cars.
They can bring up those Grove cameras. They can look at them for a minute or two. They don't see any problems at the Grove. They can shut it down and move on to do another business.
Since the cameras were installed 4 weeks ago, the graffiti and vandalism incidents have drastically reduced.
The people saw the cameras being installed. They saw the wires being put in. They saw the cameras being put on the pole.
And have made it easier for the department's 26 officers to keep a closer eye on the city.
Mainly the skate park, kids vandalizing the skate park, and just be able to, catch it earlier rather than come out the next day and find it.
Chief Moore says these 4 cameras are just the beginning. He's planning to add more and hopes to one day be able to monitor every section of Jensen's Grove.
Right now I can do everything from the boat docks all the way to the volleyball nets. My goal is to put another pan tilt zoom on the far end of the park on the west end so we can at least cover that end too.
Now, the surveillance system here at Jensen's Grove cost a total of $30,000. It was paid for by the city, the police department, and the Blackfoot Urban Renewal Agency. A lot of people think gang activity only plagues big cities like Los Angeles and Chicago, but the reality is gangs cause trouble all over the world. The IDOC says they hope their new website acts as a wake-up call to parents here in Southeast Idaho. The Idaho Maximum Security Institution in Boise houses some of the state's most dangerous gang members. The majority of the inmates here share a cell, have restricted recreation, and hardly any privacy. But the IDOC says letters inmates receive show prison life isn't much of a deterrent to young kids who are fascinated by gangs.
They talk about, I can't wait to come in, do some time there. I'm not afraid of prison. They're going to come in, do some time with the homies, and then next thing you know, they're going to go back out in the streets, and they will have been elevated in status.
Nowadays, kids are joining gangs younger than ever, so the IDOC recently launched IdahoGangs.com to help parents recognize gang affiliation.
Once they become a solid gang member, they're tattooed all up, they're jumped into the gang, they're inside the prison system, our chance of success is pretty small as far as getting them out of the gang. But if we can get them when they're first being approached and being romanced into the gang, maybe we can steer some of them away.
IdahoGangs.com lists the names of gangs operating in Idaho, the biggest being the Sureños, which is a Hispanic gang that originated in Southern California, and shows pictures of tattoos that represent gang symbols. Peter Vasquez is a former California gang member who spent years in prison. He encourages parents to use resources like idahogangs.com to keep their kids away from gangs because he says prison is a rough place to live.
You have to brush your teeth right next to that guy. You got to go to the bathroom in front of that guy. 1 day in prison is miserable. And that's the truth.
Gang intelligence coordinator Tim Higgins says parents need to know gangs target kids to commit the crimes.
They have them pull the triggers on drive-by shootings and things like that because they know they're going to get convicted as a juvenile.
So it's vital they use the site before it's too late.
He's all dressed in blue. He's got 13 written all over his notebook. It's like, oh, you know, this is just a trend. This is just the day's culture. It's not a big thing. And they don't intercede. Well, that's when we have to intercede. We have to do it then. We can't wait until he's got tattoos on his neck or on his hands, because then he's in the gang. And he's in the gang for life. He's not going to get out of that.
Higgins says the gang problem has affected a lot of Idaho, including Pocatello and Idaho Falls, but says the biggest problem is in the Nampa and Caldwell areas. Back to you. 42 cents doesn't buy very much these days, especially with the economy the way it is, but the one thing it can get you is a very classic piece of Idaho. George Makovich has owned this salmon-colored 1957 Chrysler 300C since 1999. Growing up, Makovich's dad had one.
I took my first driver's test in his.
And he always wanted one too. So after buying his own, Makovich spent 4 years and nearly $50,000 restoring it to its original condition.
You know, you're driving it down the highway. It's just a great feeling.
And just when he thought the feeling couldn't get any better, Makovich came across the opportunity of a lifetime. In 2005, the Postal Service, along with the California artist, started looking for classic cars to be featured in a stamp sheet series. Makovich's 1957 Chrysler 300C was selected soon after, and earlier this month was released to the country on what was a special day for Makovich.
They announced the date as October 3rd that they were going to issue it, which just happened to coincide with my birthday. It was a great birthday present.
This is the stamp that bears Makovich's classic car. Now, not only is it the only car in Idaho, but it's one of 5 featured on the new stamp series, America on the Move.
Out on the open road, you know, at 50 miles an hour or more, it just floats. A Hemi engine in it with 2 4-barrel carburetors. It has 375 horsepower, which was quite a bit for back in those days.
Twin Falls Postmaster Bill Reese says having this car on a stamp has sparked a lot of interest.
I don't know anyone else in probably Idaho that has, you know, had a car or something like that on the stamp itself.
And says the fact that it will be on millions of letters nationwide is really quite amazing.
To have someone here locally, his car being sent nationwide, you know, 10 million stamps is pretty unique.
And as for Makovich, he says restoring cars is a hobby, but it's a dream come true to have his 1957 Chrysler 300C part of such a classic collection.
I was a stamp collector when I was a kid, and I always remember, you know, the new issues coming out and putting them in the stamp books. I can imagine, you know, 50 or 100 years from now, some youngster chasing down these stamps to put in their book.
Yeah.
Pretty neat.
The U.S. Post Office printed 50 million of the America on the Move stamp series. Now, if you're interested in getting a copy, you can stop by your local post office. They will be selling them until they run out. Back to you. Soldiers fighting overseas will soon be receiving a little bit of home in the mail. After accepting enough donations, Operation Care Package was busy stuffing boxes with food, magazines, and even DVDs to be sent to the men and women fighting in Iraq and Afghanistan. Organizers say they were short of their goal, but hope to continue this tradition every couple of months. They also say this is a great memento of home that keeps the morale of the soldiers up.
What this means to them is that somebody that they don't know is thinking about them and they care about them, and that makes it better for them because then they feel better about what they're doing.
Well, they sent out close to 50 boxes and said they couldn't have done it without the community's support. Strong winds are hampering efforts to battle a wildfire in Southern California. The fire has burned more than 2,000 acres in Los Angeles County, closing a 3-mile stretch of the Foothill Freeway in both directions this morning. The intense Santa Ana winds blew away most of the water that this helicopter tried to drop on a burning building. The fire started Sunday, forcing hundreds of residents from their homes, and they remain evacuated today. Fire officials say wind gusts of up to 60 miles per hour are expected later today.